All right, we promised you a lot of activity to be taking place after spray foam. Let's check it out. It's been super busy a week so far. So because last week we had all the spray foam guys doing their work here, nobody was allowed to come inside the house. So this week, we're just gonna cram all the workers back in here and get all the work done. Let's check out the progress. So the biggest thing that happened so far, windows. All the windows have been delivered onto the job site and installed already. Most of the units have the glass installed already. However, specialty units like this one, no glass yet because it's a little bit heavy to install, so we wanted to put the glass in afterwards. Sliding door package. This one just got delivered this morning. This will be going into this opening right here. 3 sliding units on one single track to be installed this week. We talked about plumbing. Plumbers were in here for about a day. What did they get done? All the wall carriers installed, the bathtubs and showers. This is an example of a wall carrier. Let's check out the one upstairs, a bit more room to show you what this is all about. All right, check out this wall carrier in the master ensuite. These are made in Europe. They're very robust. This is the part that's concealed within the wall. What you see outside the wall is just the flush plate and the bowl, okay? So have a look at this unit for a second. So we plan to install a future washlet for this toilet, AKA bidet or a bum wash. But anyways, there's a lot of preparations that we have to do in the meantime to get this thing happening. Note that these provisions right here, these are for the water lines that come from inside this wall carrier unit. You slip the water line that comes factory with the gabret for the washlets, comes sticking out of this hole or this hole. That will provide you a non-visible water line that will connect to the bidet or the washlet. Also in the same area, we'll be providing an electrical outlet to power this unit. But we'll get into that as we progress into the job. But this is the basic unit for now. It's very important when you buy these wall carriers to know the heights that you are going to be adjusting to, because the last thing you want is to install this thing too high or too low. I mean, your legs will be dangling if it's too high. So in this case, what I usually do is I measure from this corner to the ground, 43.5 inches. That's approximately the height that we've been adjusting to for all our wall carriers, and it seems to be the good average medium height for this type of toilet. Now, we talked about putting plumbing fixtures and plumbing lines inside conditioned wall areas. This is a good example of how it looks like. So you see behind here, we've already prepared all the insulation and poly ahead of time. Now, had we not done this ahead of time, it'd be very difficult or impossible to install this properly because the poly has to be continuous from the top of the wall right to the ground and all across this entire surface area. By doing it first and framing this wall afterwards, we're able to isolate the stuff that goes inside the exterior walls and the stuff that remains inside a conditioned space, which is the interior walls. So have a look at this. This is completely separated by a 2x4 wall, goes right across. These are the plumbing vents and drain lines, okay? All maintaining inside this area. And another reason why we have this secondary wall, because we'll be putting in the wall mount faucets, which need to be within this space. However, there are exceptions. Let's take a look at that exception. In this bathroom right next to the ensuite, we have a very similar scenario. All the poly and installation has been done first. The reason why we did it, because we've already installed the shower base. And can you imagine if we were to try to put the poly in that beforehand, how would you possibly get it behind the shower base effectively? So now, by installing it first, we can simply slide the shower base in and we have a nice continuous poly. All the acoustical seal has been installed properly, and you don't have to muck around with trying to squish in the poly behind the shower base. I just want to bring your attention to this type of shower base I'm using. It's called Fiora. This one in particular came as 36 by 60, which is a little bit bigger than what we needed for the shower. However, if you also notice here, the drain is not centered within this shower base. There's a reason for that, because I took the shower base from a 36-inch shower base, I chopped off 6 inches off the side so we can push the same size, the same width of a shower base into this pocket, but yet continue to have a drain that functions, because right below us is a series of beams which does not allow you to have any flexibility in where you want to put the drain. So what we do, we create a custom shower base that tailors around what's been built in the house. Hence, this being 6 inches off from the center. However, it still offers you a center drain, a shower base. And if I didn't say anything, you might not even have noticed. And what comes in those Fiora shower bases is a very robust packaging. Really is 2 pieces of 1/4-inch corrugated cardboard sandwiching this shower base. but on the inside they have actually plywood frame. So what we do is we took all that framing off and we maintain this piece of cardboard to protect the shower base once it's been installed. So it's always nice to have the shower base in the same condition as you bought it when you deliver it to the end user. So another part of this master ensuite is the shower / tub combination area. So from this edge right here to this wall right here, that's actually gonna be one contained space. We'll have a future glass wall mounted along this plane here. And inside this area, it'll be also home to a custom steam shower. Now, I've never installed a steam shower this size before because it encompasses the tub area as well. So it'd be a really unique type of application. So you notice that we put the insulation and the poly ahead of time so that we can actually put the tub in without having to cram in the poly behind this wall. So for builders, always prepare these areas first before you put in the tub. It makes it much easier for install, and it's actually a much cleaner job when it comes to the poly being tucked nicely behind the tub. So we talked about having conditioned wall areas in the last washroom. Check this one out. This one we also have to put in the wall mounted faucets in this outside wall. However, because of the limitation of this bathroom, what we did was we put isobar in the outside walls. So this is a high density insulation, which gives you the adequate R value for within this wall, in addition to the batt insulation we'll be putting on top. So we'll be actually installing the wall mount faucets within this cavity. It'll be properly insulated because we do have a thickness, a certain thickness that's dedicated to the high density insulation, plus whatever rock sole or whatever insulation we put in front of it as well. And check it out, we have lights installed already. Smoke detectors, lights. These are to be installed ahead of time so that whenever the next trade comes in, which is a sprinkler guy, he can center his sprinkler heads along the lines of where the pot lights have been laid out. That way you don't have a random sprinkler head out of nowhere. At least he has a place to measure off of and keep everything nice and symmetrical. Now, as part of the lighting areas, we also have switches and receptacles installed throughout the house. And because it's a custom house, what I like to do is I always like to walk the owner through the house with all these installed to make sure that they agree with the locations of the switches. Because sometimes when it comes to a custom house, they want to have their own preferences of where these switches and receptacles are located. However, just like in our previous house we built, this is the first switch you come in when you enter the house. It's a single gang switch. Now you're gonna wonder, how can one single gang hold all the switches necessary to power the lights within the main floor? We'll be using the Lutron Radio Raw system, whereby you can have one single gang box housing 6 individual buttons for different areas of the house. Fully programmable. So what happens is, when you have one keypad here, it centralizes 6 different buttons, which control 6 different switches which are placed elsewhere. That way, you don't have to put like 6 different switches along this wall. Makes it look, one, more modern, more sleek, and you have better control of your lighting system this way. Once we get into electrical runs and electrical wiring, I'll show you exactly how the system is placed. It's something that I would recommend all custom homes to use because it's a very, very convenient system. It's also programmable to your phone, so you can turn on and off your lighting from anywhere in the world. So down here, we have another set of windows. This one here is a flangeless window, meaning that there's no flange around the outside of the window frame. So from this angle here, you can see that the window has been pushed in. We pushed into 3 inches so that it sits in the middle between the concrete edge on the outside and on the inside. So by installing windows like this, it gives you a bit more modern inset look. So around the outside here, you see that there's about 3 inches of exposed waterproofing material. What we're gonna do is, we're gonna be putting flashing material and building a nice frame around this area to tie in with this window to make it look like a one complete piece. And down in the basement, another example of a Fiore shower base, okay, installed already. And on the outside wall, note that we have put the poly ahead of time. We don't have insulation in this case, but it's easily installable afterwards. We just stuff it and push it down into that cavity. Okay? And lastly, I want to bring your attention to this bathtub. Now this one's installed already, but there's a couple of things we have to address. And for builders in Vancouver, this is a very common issue, okay? Anything on this side of the wall is considered the homeowner's use. Anything on this side is considered a legal suite. When you build a house in Vancouver with a legal suite, there's a couple of things you have to take into consideration. One, it's sound transmission, and 2, fire stopping. Anything on the legal suite side, you have to install a fire assembly that's rated for 1 hour. In this case, it'll be sound bars, 1/2-inch sound bars going horizontal, plus a sheet of 5/8 type X on top of that. Because the way our tubs are installed, we would have to push this tub away the 1.1/8 space to allow for those two materials, and then put the tub against it, and then on top of that, continue your regular 1/2" drywall. So it's a little bit of a complicated technique. We'll get into it in a future video, but this is one of the things you have to take in consideration and you take very seriously when building houses with legal suites in the city of Vancouver. So one of the next steps includes making stairs on the outside, preparing all the areas for the next concrete pour. We have stairs in the back, we have stairs on the front, we also have retaining walls on the side and walkways. We should do that all in one shot. Maximize all the areas in one concrete pour so we can save money on the pumping, the placing, and the trip cost. So a lot of activities happening this week. Let's get back to work. See you next video.